Why aren't Bhutan or Nepal a part of China or India? I don't know.
It is interesting because China and India both have very large areas and they have very different regions with very different ethnic groups. So it's interesting that Bhutan and Nepal weren't included in any of those. But
Yeah.
there's got to be some reason, right?
And it's also interesting that in Nepal is so Hindu.
Yes.
And India is also that, especially the northern part of India is so Hindu as well. You think they would have been like, you can just be with us. But no.
Yeah, and then Bhutan is very Buddhist, I think.
Yeah, it's got to be because you'd think it'd be the same as like Tibet, but when did Tibet become part of China?
I'm not sure.
I don't know either. But anyways, let's get right into this. We're gonna answer the question. If you guys want to check out our travels to India and China and coming soon Nepal, you can go check out our travel vlog channel. Link in the description below.
I don't think we're going to be going to Bhutan anytime soon. I think they have that
$200 a day tax.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
If you want to sponsor our trip, send us money now. Money me.
Us, we have a $200 tax actually because we're special.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Needs.
Autism or math? Let's do this. Here we go.
Small countries sandwiched between two major powers don't normally have a good time. Such as when Poland was carved up between Austria, Russia and Prussia, or when Rome and Persia would take turns in controlling Armenia. Yet, despite sitting between China and India for centuries, Nepal and Bhutan were never annexed into either, which raises...
What about Bangladesh, that sandwich in between India?
Yeah, that's free pickings, right?
Yeah.
That's how countries work.
It's a land of rivers. India could have so many more rivers.
And so many more tigers.
Mm-hmm.
For centuries, Nepal and Bhutan were never annexed into either, which raises the obvious question. Why not? Why weren't Bhutan or Nepal ever annexed? Well,
because China was worried that if they annexed Bhutan, they'd have to pay $200 a day per taxes.
I mean, that's per person in China.
Yeah.
China has 1.4 billion people. That's a lot of China. That's a lot of Bhutan tax. They'd be rich.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Between these two independent states used to live a third.
Then if they're paying it to Bhutan and they control Bhutan, do they get to take that money?
That's true. Then the government would be making extra cash.
That sounds like a good business move.
They could build a new, really tall skyscraper, probably.
Yeah.
Dang.
Called Sikkim. Over the centuries, the three had been to war with their neighbours and they rose and fell in power. As of the 18th century, to their south sat the Mughal Empire, which was an expansionist state, but one which at that point had a lot of internal problems, but also a Mughal Empire.
It was there soon, just the whole world.
Expansionist state, but one which at that point had a lot of internal problems, but also much larger enemies to confront. One which would take advantage if the Mughals ever marched north to conquer the Himalayan states. The Mughals soon collapsed and were replaced by a divided India, much of which would soon fall under the Maratha Empire, but it wouldn't be long until another imperial power would dominate the area. The British didn't have the manpower to hold the entire subcontinent, and so it operated a policy of rule through the natives. This was where local rulers already in place would keep their positions, so long as they swore to be loyal to Britain or before that the East India Company. As the British were expanding their influence in the region, so was Nepal, and this soon brought the two into conflict. The British primarily wanted to trade with China via the Himalayan states. The Nepalese said no, a war was fought, the British won, and in return for trade concessions, Nepal and Sikkim retained their independence with a British guarantee on the condition that Britain would gain trade access. And Sikkim would soon afterwards become a protectorate.
Such a small little
Bhutan
place.
wasn't conquered by the British either for one simple reason: mild confusion. When they first turned up, the British had no idea where China ended and whether or not Bhutan was a part of it. They found out that it wasn't, and so invade they did. The British couldn't control the entire state, and so in the end it got the lands of Darjeeling in return for a yearly stipend.
After
this, though, the British were happy to have another buffer state. And after the British left the region, Nepal and Bhutan were both independent, and so neither were asked to join India or Pakistan. Whereas, since Sikkim was a British protectorate, it became an Indian one, and in the 1970s it formally joined the country. So what about China to the north? China claimed the Himalayan states as extensions of Tibet, which had been a Chinese puppet state since the early 18th century. 50 years later, Nepal invaded, won, the Qing retaliated, and when they won, Nepal was forced to pay an annual tribute. They never conquered the territory because 1, conquering a mountain state is very difficult, and 2, it was on the other side of a very reluctant client state, which meant maintaining control there would be very difficult. And soon Nepal would be brought into the British sphere of influence, and thus the Qing and later the Chinese Republic saw no benefit in invading. Bhutan staying independent of China is largely the same. It was geographically very difficult to hold, had close relations with Tibet, and conquering it wouldn't provide much in benefits. And furthermore, when the British turned up and brought Bhutan into its sphere of influence, annexation would mean war. Obviously, the Chinese were very concerned that Britain would continue to expand its influence to Tibet. And so, when Britain offered recognition, China annexed Tibet instead, happy to temporarily lose these to permanently gain a much greater landmass. And after the communists took power in the country, Mao laid claim to all of these as extensions of Tibet. But even after the British left, China took no action against these countries, meaning that both of them would remain independent. I hope you enjoyed this episode,
So
and special thanks to my patrons.
Does China still claim them then? If
I guess not, because they have visas for people from Nepal.
Yeah, true. We learned that from our guide in Nepal at one point. But that is very interesting. This was a very well explained but very quick video.
Yeah.
Basically, all I learned is the reason is because of the British and because it's hard to conquer.
And China eventually is like, we don't really need it.
Yeah. The Gurkhas are just too strong in Nepal.
That's
and
true.
The happiness of Bhutan, I think they're happy there or something.
Or the monks, they're like warrior monks.
Oh, they
And
have those in Civilization 6. I think after you build some wonder, you get 3 warrior monks.
Don't mess with a warrior monk. They could probably take out a whole like legion of Chinese soldiers or Indian soldiers because they're warrior monks.
Do you think we learned a lot from this video when we spent the last minute talking about warrior monks?
What do you mean? Isn't that what he talked about in the video? Warrior monks?
True. Yeah, interesting.
How about Gurkha killed an entire train of bad guys?
The Gurkha warriors. Mm-hmm. They have curved swords.
So basically Nepal and Bhutan are like Switzerland. They were just kind of there, and Germany was like, yo, we want to take over all of Europe, but you guys got mountains. Never mind.
It's gonna be hard to conquer.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Bhutan military, but yeah, apparently the Gurkhas are very well trained. So if they know that climate, they're super soldiers.
It's like the Swiss guards or whatever the frack.
Yeah, in the Vatican City for whatever reason.
Yeah, the Pope needs us. All right, let's see you in the next one, guys.
Bye.
Check out our videos down in the description below. Yeah, bye.